We're just looking for consistency defensively, and keep chipping away at it. And, again, second half defensively, we started talking more. And that cleans up a lot of things, regardless of a coverage or a scheme or a plan. Guys are out there competing, and, if you talk, you can defend together, and that's the key. So,
welcome in, Hawks fans. It's your boy Bryce Lewis back at it again for another Atlanta Hawks wrap up. Hawks lose today against the Memphis Grizzlies, 123-119. By the time y'all see this video, it'll actually be yesterday, but whatever. Yeah, pretty much this game was a tale of what this Hawks season has been so far, and especially understand Quinn Snyder. High scoring game, like it feels like every game has been since he's taken over, and just not able to get stops, and also sloppy execution late in games. And those are the things that have doomed the Hawks all season long, and it continued tonight. It was one of those things where they played it back-to-back. Indiana, they had a really good performance. Bench stepped up, scored a crap ton of points. Came in tonight, much better team. John Morant trying to find his rhythm. Really played well tonight for the Memphis Grizzlies. In his return, had 27 in 29 minutes. I mean, he was on a minutes restriction, and he still was able to get what he wanted against the Hawks. And, Hunter came back for the Hawks today. That was big, but he didn't have a great game today. He went 8 of 20 from the field, 1 of 9 from 3. Actually, 1 of 8 from 3. And it was just tough watching the performances out there. Trae Young had a good game, 28 and 10. Jonte still struggling with his shot, 3 of 11, 1 of 5 from 3. John Collins almost had a double-double, but struggled with his shot a little bit. Got a shot blocked a couple times by Jalen Jackson Jr. And then Clint Capella, he was probably one of the best Hawks on the floor. He had 18 and 16 tonight. So he kind of gave you a performance that you would expect from a guy like Clint Capella. And tonight just couldn't get enough from everybody to be able to do it. Baugi had 10, Okongwu had 13, another strong game for him. They had 9, and AJ was kind of off a little bit tonight with only just 2 points on 1 of 5 shooting. Aaron Holiday only had 4 minutes but didn't attempt a shot. So, like I said, this game has just been a tell of what, like I said, has been happening all season with this team. I think that, 3-point shooting has continued to be an issue. Hawks, 7 of 31 today, 23%. Grizzlies, basically 40%, 13 of 33. That has actually been the difference in games for this team, where literally it's close. It's just they can't make threes, and the other team did make threes. And I think that's a big issue. The Hawks just came off a game in Indiana where they were making threes. And then tonight it changed. And we could go through we can nitpick and say, well, Hunter came back. He's not a great 3-point shooter. Garrison Matthews had a good game against Indiana. He had a good shot from 3. He's a shooter. That's his specialty. I know a lot of people brought up the Kevin Huerter thing. And this is one thing I'll say about Kevin Huerter. I don't think Kevin Huerter would be doing what he'd be doing right now if Nate McMillan was still here. But I do think he would be doing what he's doing with Sacramento right now under Quinn Snyder. I just think the offense that Quinn would run would really fit his skill set. And so that was one reason why I think he would be able to do that. And then, you could basically say, we miss him right now. He also was a guy who could also playmaker a little bit too, and was kind of a two-way guy, 6'7" long guy who can kind of defend some of the good guards we have and wings we have in this league. But, overall in this game, Hawks were competitive for the most part, but it's like the same thing as the Boston game. You're going against the best teams in the league. Sometimes it's just one run that they make, and then you're never able to truly get back into the game in terms of getting tied or taking the lead again. And that's basically what happened tonight. It got close a couple times in the game, but Memphis was able to make some key shots and make some key plays. And like I said, down the stretch, the Hawks' execution was not great. Overall, I think it's just one of those things that we just got to continue to grow and develop, to be honest with you. Trae said it, after the game. He was just like, we're not used to taking open threes, basically. He was basically just like, we wait for the closeout. Like, some guys haven't gotten that green light before to just take those shots. And I think that's very telling. I think that's a very telling quote because, he's basically saying under Nate, he kind of limited how many people he wanted jacking up shots. So Quinn's like, no, jack him up. And then the problem is that guys are not shooting it as confidently or may not be shooting it with the same conviction. Oh, they're open. Okay, take it. they may hesitate. We've seen, a couple of times guys hesitate, take shots. And Quinn's very offensively like, go, take the shot, get the shots up, because he's like, as more shots we get up, the better chance we have potentially making those shots. And the Hawks have been an up and down 3-point team all year long anyway. If you think about it, they have shooters, but their shooters are on their bench. Bay, Bogdanovich, and Griffin. Those are your shooters. They're on your bench right now. You don't really have a quote-unquote 3-point sniper in your starting lineup. Your best 3-point shooter is probably, even though everybody's percentages are low this year, probably Trey. DeJounte's worked on it, and he was shooting the 3 well early, but his shot has been off since the Portland game. DeAndre is decent, but he's very hit and miss with his 3-point shot. John hasn't had as great of a 3-point shooting year as he had before, but, he's played better in the last 5 games for tonight, and obviously Clint can't hit a 3. So you don't really have that same threat and that same philosophy that I think Quinn would want the offense to have with the starters. But with the bench, they kind of fit what Quinn wants to do more because he wants that fast-paced shooting, and he knows AJ will jack it up, Bogey will jack it up, Bay will jack it up, and I think that's what he wants. And that's why the bench unit has also been so effective for him during these stretch of games, because they're kind of more of what he kind of wants the team to play like. The starters just aren't like that and stuff. And then I think, like I said, it hurts that DeJounte isn't playing well. It hurts that he's not being that guy in that starting lineup who can go get 20, 25 with Trey. That's something you expected from him. You lose to the game tonight, you got Memphis. I would say their second best player is Desmond Bane. He gave 20, 25 tonight. Ja had 27. Trey had, he had 28, but DeJounte only gave you 13. I mean, there's been times where they'll go against like really good backcourts and they'll get outplayed because one side, defensively the Hawks are not that great. They can't get stops. So those guys are going off, but then someone on the other side, Trey or DeJounte, don't have their shot going that day. And that's tough. And that's really tough. And it's like you feel like you need everything. You need to get everything you can from them for you to be able to win these games. And now you're sitting here tied in the 8th spot with Toronto. Luckily, you have the tiebreaker, but you're tied. And now in a position where you could potentially lose that spot if you continue to hang around 500. You have to hope Toronto doesn't go on a winning streak here, or else now you have to win 2 games to get into the playoffs, and that probably will lead to you playing, unless something changes, the Milwaukee Bucks in the first round of the playoffs. So, and obviously this is something also I keep into account, and I always say this. This is not Quinn Snyder's coaching staff, and technically this isn't his team. This technically isn't the roster he wants. Where we assume that this probably is not what the roster he would want. We'll have to see what that looks like when the offseason gets closer and we get to that point, unless the Hawks may only have 8-9 games left to play. And so that may be coming sooner rather than later. But until then, this is what we have as a team, and they're going to have to work with it. And listen, like I said, offensively, they're a top 5 offensive team in this league. They just can't stop anybody. They're in track meets every game with teams. It's just a bunch of who could stop who from scoring late in games, because everybody going to be scoring on 120. I even said in the Spurs game, they scored 82, but they lit up 67. That's still not really good. We almost let them 70 points at half. Indiana game, Indiana had a lead 72-74 at half. That's almost 140. That's not a good defensive pace to have if you're the Hawks. You got to play better defense than that if you're going to win against teams that are like Memphis and like Boston, because they can also lock in defensively and shut you down. They can score too, and that's going to be the biggest issue. The Hawks don't have the ability to do that. They're on a very thin margin. It's basically like they have to score, and then they have to get situational stops. If they don't score, they probably can't get enough stops, and if they can't get enough stops, they have to score. If they don't score, then they usually get behind, especially if they're going against a team that has strong offensive firepower. So, that all these things I'm saying, it's tough, to see. Obviously, you're back under one game under 500. You play Cleveland Tuesday, so you got to get ready for that. They're a team, tough team in the Eastern Conference. And like I said, you're trying to fight off Toronto so you don't drop below the 8th seed. So, schedule's not going to be easy for the Hawks coming up. They have, like I said, Cleveland, Brooklyn, who's in the 6th seed right now, and Dallas, and then Chicago, who's also the 10th seed right now, could potentially be their playing opponent if they drop to 9. And then you got the Wizards in Philly and then Boston in the year. None of those games to me are easy games. Everybody, I mean, Washington, you probably say is the easiest game left on that schedule, but realistically, I mean, it's going to be a tough game all around. So the Hawks got to get ready to play. They got to dial in. They got to continue to improve, continue to progress, and honestly, just continue to try to get better as a team for them to be able to really, maybe hang on to that 8th spot and then see what they can do when it gets to the play-in. So it's just going to be really interesting to see. Hopefully, Jalen Johnson gets back soon. I know they really need him and his defense out there, against teams, and he's another guy they can put on ball against wings. So, hopefully he can get back soon. And like I said, DeJounte can find his shot because they need. We're entering a stretch of the season with this situation where they need DeJounte to be better. They need him to be better. I know some people are going to turn on DeJounte, but I'm not going to turn him. I just know he needs to be better if they're going to really want to be the team they want to be or attempt to try to be as the season starts to window down and we get closer to the last game 82. So we'll have to see what happens. But, like I said, Hawks lose tonight in a tough win against Memphis. Fought hard, but realistically, the same issues that have reared their head all year for this team. Lack of three-point shooting, defense, defensively, and then situational basketball has reared its ugly head for this team again. So we're going to have to see if they can continue to correct it, if Quinn can continue to talk to these guys and get these guys on the same page moving forward. But it's your boy, Bryce Lewis. This is your Atlanta Hawks wrap up. I'll see you next time.